Patch 4.04 has shaken up the game's meta hard in more ways than one, and only until recently has pro play switched to patch 4.04. The new team comps that have been appearing in games have shown a sharp turn in the smokes meta, along with some new agent picks sprinkled in on some maps. What is going on, ProGuides family? It is your host Sergeant Frost, and today we're looking at the 4.04 meta from a glance. Let's not waste any more time and get right into the video. In order to get a full grasp of the meta changes happening in the game right now, we have to address the controller class and all the smoke agent changes we got at the start of this act. Each agent in this class was balanced in some way to address past issues, and it really made the meta do a 180 on what's powerful and what's not moving forward. So far this week, since the new patch is live in pro play, most teams have been running just OMEN and BRIMSTONE, with a little Viper sprinkled in on Icebox and Breeze, and rarely any ASTRA. Let's dive a little deeper into each controller and examine what's happening with them in the meta at the moment. But if you're looking for more than just an understanding of the meta and want to master any of these agents, make sure to visit ProGuides.com, where our Radiant and Immortal level coaches are more than happy to help you improve on your gameplay. Whether it's to sharpen your fundamentals or to learn some agent or map specifics, they'll help you unlock your potential as a player and rank up at top speeds. So if you're interested, make sure to click the link in the description to get started. Since the controller changes went live, ASTRA is now the odd man out in the smoke meta, with her being used little if at all and only by a couple of teams, with TSM Academy running it on some maps and XSET running it uniquely on the map Breeze being the most notable. It's no secret that ASTRA was hit hard with all of her abilities except her ultimate being nerfed across the board. Hitting her cooldowns is what really hurts her, because now she can't dish out her CC as consistently as she used to, which does hurt her Sentinel sight denial-like capabilities a lot. At the moment in the meta, ASTRA is not being entertained as an option right now for most teams, so it's safe to say that she is not the main player in the smoke meta going into the future. A lot of players in the community thought that pro play would be stubborn like last time and they would continue to run ASTRA out of stubbornness and force her to work despite her nerfs. We can say that after the past few days that is not the case, and the majority of teams are starting to move on without her just fine. While some teams may sprinkle her into a specific team comp on a certain map in the future for a very niche strategy, don't expect to see ASTRA come back full force without buffs or a rework anytime soon in the near future. The biggest shift in the controller meta after 4.04 goes to BRIMSTONE without a doubt. For the first time in a very long time, arguably since beta, BRIMSTONE is starting to see a significant amount of play in the meta. He isn't a 100% pick rate controller, but he's picking up steam on a few maps in particular. In the past week, BRIMSTONE has been run a lot on maps like Ascent, Haven, and Bind. Our best prediction after analyzing several of the matches that he appeared in. The reason Brim is being run a lot on these maps in particular is due to his ability to place multiple smokes at the same time. Haven and Ascent are maps that have bomb sites with more than 2 entrances, which gives BRIMSTONE room to shine because his unique smoking capability gives him value on those maps. BRIMSTONE is starting to be experimented with by teams to see where he can find a spot in the meta. Right now, he can't fully overtake the main smokes role like ASTRA did earlier this year, and that's because he has 2 things that are holding him back. The first thing is that Brim only has 3 smokes max, and the second thing is that Brim's smokes have much more limited range, unlike OMEN and ASTRA. Brim's smoke deploy time did get faster, but his ability to pull off fakes and to be relevant into late round is much weaker. Outside of his ability to place multiple smokes at the same time, his stim beacon is becoming a useful tool for a lot of attacking teams that have execute heavy playstyles. If you have played against a BRIMSTONE recently, you know that a rushing team of 5 hyped up off a stim beacon is a hard team to contest. A lot of teams are picking up on how effective this strategy of overwhelming your opponents with speed is, and they are adapting to the new speed meta quite nicely. Brim is also a great duo to be ran with the speed duelists Jet, Neon, and Raze. His stim beacons and multiple smoke placements synergize quite nicely with these agents, mainly due to the speed boost that helps their entry pathing, and the fact that they know they are a little safer with 3 smokes going down that can cover a lot of their blind spots and points of contact as they enter into a site. Brim looks like he will be a big player in the meta for certain teams that develop specific attacking strategies revolving around his speed and flexible smoke placing capabilities. Now that ASTRA has been dethroned, the smokes meta has opened up space for OMEN to come back to relevance. Now that her CC and stars have been nerfed, there isn't really a controller that can double up as a Sentinel as easily as the old ASTRA could. So OMEN has stepped back into the meta as a solid smokes focused agent. His main job is now a bit easier because of his smoke deployment speed being buffed. This allows him to dish out smokes quickly and they arrive in time for his team to break into a site. Previously, when they nerfed his smoke speed, you would need to wait a bit longer for both of his smokes to land. So it gave enemies some time to figure out what's happening and also to pick off your teammates trying to entry. OMEN is a mobile smoker. He can run while throwing his smokes, which allows him to keep up with the pace of his team, while still accurately putting out smokes to assist them with site takes. On top of his new buff smokes, OMEN's flash is still a very useful tool for attacking, especially since his hitbox has been tuned. And his shadow step speed being improved means that this ability is now a lot more reliable and consistent for repositioning, which is why he is currently a comparable pick to BRIMSTONE and is used on some maps that prefer his ability to abuse verticality like Icebox. Some people argue that Brim and Omen are overtuned, but the controller meta is a fickle one because in order for one or more agents in this class to shine, others need to be nerfed or put down in order to make room for others. I predict we may see another controller agent being added soon to add more diversity to the class. That way, the devs can continue to balance this class without having to play tennis with balancing the smokers in the meta. The last smoker we need to talk about is Viper. So for everyone who panicked after they saw the Viper changes in 4.04, you can calm down now. Viper is still viable in the meta. She's just not an all-around amazing pick who can do everything on offense and defense now. Basically, she is not as powerful as she was fresh off her rework a year ago, but she's still strong enough to be a mainstay in the meta as is. Viper is now specifically niched to a certain few maps where her wall acts as a more effective vision blocking tool than regular smokes. So far in pro play, the maps you will see Viper on the most are Breeze, Icebox, Split, and occasionally Bind if the team running her has a special defensive setup for her, or if they want a powerful lurk on the attacker's side. Viper's melee duration was nerfed once again, which means Viper's post-plant prowess is slowly getting weaker over time, which makes her less of a threat when attacking than before. Viper also got her gas capacity and recharge timings hit, and her abilities give visual signals for when they're offline and recharging. Simply put, the devs tried to hit Viper's power levels as much as they could without actually taking away from what makes her strong. As a result, we now have a much more balanced Viper that is still scary in the right situations. In short, Viper is still viable in the meta on her preferred maps. Outside of those maps though, Omen and Brimstone are much more viable options. The smoke meta seems to be stabilizing with role players being designated for certain maps between Brimstone and Viper. The only way we see this meta evolving any further over the course of this episode is either Brim or Omen gets nerfed because they are deemed too strong, or if another smoke controller gets added as a new agent in Act 3. Before we move on, let's get to our question of the day. Today's question is, what do you think of the new smoke meta in Valorant? Do you prefer the old ways of ASTRA and Viper, or do you like things to go back to normal with Omen and Brimstone? Personally, I really like the game returning to the times of Omen and Brimstone. I personally was not a fan of CC-heavy controllers being run in tandem with each other in games. Let us know what your answer is in the comment section down below. Now let's get back into the video. Finally, YORU's rework is in the game for everyone to play, and honestly the reviews have been good. So far, YORU is proving to be a competent duelist who is no longer a troll pick and actually has a good niche use as an agent. However, while he is useful in solo queue, he has not proven himself yet in pro play. He has the tools in his kit now to distract his opponents, and circumvent them by maneuvering around them, which helps his mobility and his entry pathing. His kit is not as fast as Jet, Raze, or Neon, but his elusiveness that his ult and TP brings to the table allows him to outplay his opponents more consistently than before his rework, which is noticeable good steps in the right direction for this character. However, even though he's made strides towards being a meta agent in solo queue, he is difficult to judge on whether his usefulness will carry over to pro play, as that's a bit more difficult to judge in the short term. We will have to wait and see if the teams break him out consistently, as pro play just switched to 4.04 this week. The future is bright for YORU. Let's see now if he can live up to his potential. Now let's quickly talk about a couple other agents who have been seeing play since 4.04 dropped. First up, Breach has been seeing some use outside of his niche on Fracture. He has been spotted on Haven recently since 4.04 went live. Our best guess for this is because it seems to be that Breach's stun utility is proving to synergize well with Brimstone when it comes to executing onto a site effectively. A team can run into a bomb site fast, and Breach can stand back and stun common traffic areas to catch out defenders and force enemies into retake positions very quickly. And lastly, another agent to keep an eye out on this patch is Neon. Team Liquid's Soulcast has been running a lot of Neon lately in their games. It seems like Neon's hype fizzled out really quickly as she didn't live up to the duelist expectations when she was first released. This definitely can change over time though, as pro teams have the possibility of changing their attitude about her more as they get comfortable using her and finding specific niches to fill out on a composition. As it stands, Neon could very well have potential heading into the year, but it's still currently an off-meta pick for the most part. Well, that is all we have for this 4.04 meta from a glance analysis. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to keep up to date with the latest Valorant news, updates, and guides. Also, make sure to check back out our website for truly amazing on-demand coaching. This has been your host, Sergeant Frost, and good luck on the grind this act.